The Rift. This Hold of Skyrim is best known amongst players for its capital city of Riften and its association with the Thieves Guild. But what does the future have in store for this region of Skyrim? That's what I aim to find out today. How yin's doing? I'm Ian, and this is my theory about what happens to the Rift after the events of Skyrim conclude. Let's get into it. First and foremost, let's go over the geography and what happens in the region of the Rift during the game to see where we're starting off from. The Hold of the Rift consists of the southeast corner of Skyrim, and assuming you are incapable of flying, there are only 3 ways in or out of the Hold. The most common of these routes that you'll see players use is the one that involves heading south from Eastmarch. The roads you'll see when you take this route are typically going to be very windy and taking you up very steep hillsides. However, there's nothing particularly dangerous about them, at least not any more so than the rest of Skyrim. The second way in or out of this hold is a mountain pass that leads directly to Falkreath, and if you've ever seen the intro sequence of this game before, you're already familiar with this mountain pass because it's the one you're riding in a carriage at the start of the game. The third and final way in or out of the Rift Hold is through the mountain pass leading to Morrowind directly east of its capital city of Riften. For hopefully obvious reasons, we the player cannot actually use this mountain pass to explore the world outside of Skyrim during the events of the game. Just keep in mind that this is the only mountain pass between Skyrim and Morrowind. The only other ways to travel directly between these two provinces is to either travel by boat or along the coastline to Windhelm. However, the most defining geographical feature of this hold are the 2 lakes at its center. The larger of these 2 lakes is called Lake Honrich. Several farms can be found along its shoreline as well as even on the islands within it, and on its eastern shore is the capital city of the Hold, Riften. This lake is the source of not only one of the only fisheries in the entire game, but also the Treva River, which feeds into the other lake of the Hold, Lake Aegir, where on its western shore we'll find the small settlement of Ivarstead. This small settlement consists of a bunch of subsistence farmers, a lumber mill, and the last inn you'll be able to stay at before making your climb up the 7,000 steps to see the Greybeards in High Hrothgar. As for the rest of the hold, it has an uncanny resemblance to what my Minecraft worlds typically look like on your average playthrough. Stone castles, birch trees, and a whole lot of farms. And the most noteworthy of these farms is the one that specializes in the production of Nirnroot, an expensive alchemic ingredient that can be quite useful for those of you who like to make poisons or potions of invisibility. This hold also houses the Dawnguard and the Thieves Guild. However, since these 2 factions have questlands that involve you gallivanting all over the entirety of Skyrim, not just the Hold of the Rift, I'll be giving those guys separate videos. Although there will be some brief mention of the Thieves Guild since they are so closely linked with the capital city of this Hold of Riften. On the subject of illegal activity going on in Riften, there is a quest where you can actually take down a drug cartel operating in the hold, and this cartel seems to be acting completely independent of any of the joinable factions, so don't worry about this somehow screwing with your chances of joining the Thieves Guild. It is also required if you want the Jarl of the land to name you Thane of the Rift. Speaking of, at the start of the game, the Jarl of the land is Ilya Lawbringer. But don't let that name fool you. Her entire inner court is effectively completely compromised by people who are being paid off by the Thieves Guild to tell her that they don't exist. This amusingly results in the Jarl of Riften being the only person in Riften unaware of the Thieves Guild operating in the sewers under Riften. She also seems to falsely believe her son is mentally ill for not supporting Ulfric Stormcloak in his rebellion. On the subject of Ulfric and his rebellion, if you decide to side against Ulfric and help the Imperials out, the infamous Maven Black-Briar will end up becoming the official Jarl of the land. She's a tycoon that produces the Black-Briar mead, an alcoholic beverage pretty popular in Skyrim and is functionally just a more expensive variant of the Nord mead you have found everywhere else in the game. No, seriously, mechanically, this drink is literally just the Nord mead beverage, except slightly more expensive. Whether Maven figured out a way to make the mead taste better, or if she just has an amazing marketing campaign, I cannot say. Regardless, she often employs the Thieves Guild and even the Dark Brotherhood on occasion to get her dirty work done. And if that still hasn't convinced you that she is completely corrupt, allow me to inform you that one of her 2 sons committed murder, and instead of getting the headsman's axe sent his way, he is sitting in a luxurious prison cell underneath Riften. But where does all of this leave the population of the Hold? Well, we have a capital city full of thieves and corruption, and a vast countryside full of trees and fertile farmland. While the quests we do to become Thane of the land can result in the skooma problem being less of an issue, that doesn't really stop the crime issue. After all, taking down a single den of skooma dealers doesn't really mean much when the biggest source of crime in the hold is actually a unionized organization of Robin Hood-esque thieves. Unlike real life, where the majority of criminals are the victims of either crippling debt or drug addiction. Usually both. As a result of this, I honestly don't think the average citizen of Riften is going to notice a major shift beyond a bunch of refugees coming into the city after their homes got destroyed by dragons. But who ends up being Jarl after the Civil War can be massively important to the long-term stability of the hold. This is because while Maven functionally rules the land regardless of who's in charge in all but name, and her transition to power is, from a day-to-day perspective of the people, little more than a bureaucratic formality when the Imperials roll in, it has some massive implications in regards to succession. This is because the title of Jarl in Skyrim is not an elected position. It is a hereditary title passed from parent to child, and while certain events such as the Civil War can result in non-blood relatives rising to the position, as a rule of thumb, this position is hereditary. Maven has 3 children at the start of the game, 2 sons and a daughter. One of these 2 sons is the aforementioned murderer who is living in a luxurious prison cell underneath Riften, and the other is just a complete man-child who sleeps with his mother. I wish I was joking about that. As for the daughter, she's an aspiring apothecary trying to stay as far away from the family business as humanly possible. And to be perfectly honest, I suspect the apothecary that's been training her only does so in order to make sure they don't have to put up with their mother's shit. This leads me to believe that no matter who succeeds Maven after her death, it's gonna be someone completely incompetent, and will almost certainly result in the Thieves Guild trying to overthrow whoever Maven leaves as her heir. After all, if they start running the economy into the ground, there won't be anything worth stealing in the city anymore. Meanwhile, if Lady Lawbringer is able to stay in power, I suspect the transition after her passing won't result in anything too significant changing. Corruption will still be a problem, but given that her children are probably more aware of the Thieves Guild and the corruption that plagues the city, it's likely that it's going to have to go a little bit further underground and be less obvious. But amusingly, I think the best change you can make to improve the lives of the people of the Hold is actually by joining the Dark Brotherhood via killing the Orphanage Head. This is because the Orphanage Head at the start of the game, Grelod the Kind, is a terrible woman on every conceivable level. Like, she basically does the most horrible things you can imagine an orphanage head doing to their children while still keeping themselves family-friendly, and she actively prevents anyone from adopting the children in her orphanage. This is displayed in-game by making it so that we are incapable of adopting children in the Hearthfire expansion until after Grelod is killed. And after the dragon crisis finally boils over and people are able to start rebuilding without fear of dragons and the Civil War destroying everything they have, I suspect adopting children is going to be rather popular. After all, the ashes of dragonfire can make some excellent fertilizer for new farmland. And if we're going to start building a farm here, we're going to need some extra hands. Oh, look at that, an orphanage full of free labor. This leads me to believe that the Hold of the Rift is going to have an easier time rebuilding in the aftermath of the Dragon Crisis and Civil War compared to the rest of Skyrim, especially when you realize the Hold effectively has a monopoly on a specific resource. I am, of course, speaking about the Nirnroot farm. This is because there is only one person in the entire setting who actually knows how to cultivate this crop. And I'm willing to bet that this overworked Dark Elf is more than willing to share her secrets on this in exchange for competent laborers who can actually be helpful to her, since she's a pretty overworked woman by the looks of it. Because of this, I suspect the secrets of Nirnroot farming will start to spread throughout Skyrim, starting in this Hold, resulting in a large number of farms showing up along the coastlines and creeks of the Hold. So overall, Riften will continue being a thieves' paradise while the rest of the Hold becomes an agricultural powerhouse as people inevitably start settling down in the area, whether it's because they were displaced from their home by dragons, the Civil War, or just wanted to get out of Riften in order to avoid the Thieves Guild shaking them down for protection money, resulting in many different individuals establishing farms in the countryside and possibly adopting children to help work the land. But that's just what I personally think is going to happen in this Hold after the events of Skyrim. So let me know what you think down below. I could be wrong about something, and if someone changes my mind, I'll be sure to pin them. And since you made it all the way to the end of the video, don't forget to like it, since, well, if you didn't like the video, why are you still here? And be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss the next video I upload. With that said, I've been Ian, you have been you. Thank you for watching.